Hi, I am recording this to share an experience that I recently had with myself. So this is feeling really vulnerable to share actually because it's part of my own personal growth journey. But I am just being brave to share it with you because in the hopes that I feel it may be helpful. I hope it's helpful. Let me know if you find it helpful. I would love to hear anything you care to share in response to this video. Okay, so I had this funny experience this last weekend where, okay, a little backstory is that I am recognizing that I have a growth opportunity with repatterning how I view housework. I currently, don't necessarily have the most awesome, happy relationship with housework, and I find that I can get really grumpy with housework. And, I'm not going to dive into like all the reasons around this. Just suffice to say that I do get so grumpy with housework that I tend to put it off. And even though I know it would be good for me to do things like sweep the cobwebs out of the windows or off the ceiling, I let those kinds of things pile up for quite a while. So anyway, so I was in this process of tackling a bunch of this stuff this weekend, and thankfully I was listening to an audiobook while I was embarking on a part of this journey, and it completely helped me to shift my whole perspective and my whole experience of it in a different way and with a lot more fun than I've experienced so far. And so there's a lot more to this conversation, and I will happily link a couple of videos that I've made prior to this about different aspects of growth and like how, when we're setting out for goals, oftentimes we can have this like push-pull scenario where like we have a goal, but then there's parts of us that are in direct opposition to the goal that we consciously say that we want for ourselves. Like I want a clean house, but it's like, oh, but I don't want to do the housework involved with that, and so on and so forth. So and even like okay, no, but I do want to do the housework, and then it's like, oh, but then there's this part of me that really doesn't want to. And there's so many levels and layers to this, but I'm just going to share this most recent one, which does feel like a big up leveling. So if all of this sounds like, way over the top, then I'm super happy to talk more at length about some of the other approaches, such as, being able to have those conversations with those voices that are trying to discourage us from doing the things that we want to do, being able to really, acknowledge those voices. But this was taking it to a whole other level, so that rather than, having it be an internal argument within myself, rather than, just acknowledging and accepting that like it just has to be done or whatever, and, trying to discipline my way through it. This approach was encouraging, like, what if you give yourself permission to actually look for the enjoyment of the thing that you are currently judging about, yourself within the situation. And so, for myself in that situation, I realized that I was like judging the part of myself that was grumpy about doing housework. I was like trying to fix it, trying to, be like, oh, but I shouldn't be grumpy. It's just part of life. Like, things have to be done. And so I should just be happy about it or whatever, And so I was like, okay. I'm like, so at first I felt resistance to even like, it was like, no, there's like, what enjoyment? Like, I don't enjoy being grumpy. And then I was like, okay, I'm just like explorament, just gonna try this on for size. It was like, okay, you know what if there was a part of me that did get to be enjoying that I was grumpy? Like can I find some enjoyment in the grumpiness? And pretty quickly, as soon as the invitation was there, it was like, oh yeah, I kind of surprised myself. I was like, oh yeah, I can really, be enjoying being grumpy. I can like really sink my teeth into this. And thankfully I was just home by myself, so I was just, it was just me, myself, and I with this process. And so, I was like, yeah, I can really just let myself be really grumpy and let myself really enjoy being really grumpy, which is like not something that is part of my normal day-to-day existence, or not part of my normal thought process anyway. And so I was like, yeah, okay. And then I was like, what does it feel like in my body, like as I'm letting myself just like be really grumpy and like letting myself enjoy being really grumpy? And it really shifted the whole experience for me. I could really see yeah, some of those benefits of being really grumpy. It's like helping me scrub the floors like with more like rah, tackling it, than if I'm just like ha 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 la la la, just like happily scrubbing the floors. And I was like, oh yeah, it really like was like helping me to feel more like powerful, and like helping me to like lift up that vacuum so that I could get to those hard to reach cobwebs, and like like all this stuff. It was like, oh yeah, like being grumpy about it, I could really get into it. Just let myself enjoy it. I think it was like the letting myself enjoy it was a big part of what was so pivotal about it for me. And sorry, I just got a notification there, so I hope that this wasn't interrupted there from that. And when I just let myself enjoy it and let myself recognize, it also gave me this like perspective where it was like, oh, where it helped me to see that like being grumpy about it was a choice. And it wasn't some inevitable thing that I had to be grumpy about it, but it was like, ooh, I can be grumpy about it. And it was like, ooh, and I can enjoy being grumpy about it. And it was like, okay. And then like, it really just helped to open up the choice. It helped to open up this like bigger perspective where I could see myself more from that witnessing perspective, so that I wasn't my thoughts, but I was the observer of my thoughts, which is always such an empowering place to be. And it also really helped to recognize where being grumpy about it may have served me for a time and for specific reasons, but that it didn't need to always have to be that way if I didn't want it to be. And I really started to be able to shift my whole experience of how I was relating to the act of doing housework, to me doing housework, and started to like, once I gave myself that permission to look for the enjoyment for the parts of it that I don't like, or that are like I'm judging as bad, it really helped. It like opened up. It was like once I sort of opened up that Pandora's box, it was like, oh, there were more and more layers that were like, oh, right, yes. And like, yes. And I can feel like, kind of like righteous about like me doing all this housework, or like whatever, like there were so many layers of it that unfolded that it was like, oh, wow, like, yeah. And can I let myself enjoy that? And it was like, whoa. And it was kind of, again, when we're used to judging these parts of ourselves, it can feel quite affronting to then just be like, no, I'm just gonna like enjoy it instead of like judging it. However, just giving yourself that permission, like for me, the idea that I'm just going to experiment with it, is helpful, so that I can just like try it on. Like, what if I give myself permission to like see if I can find some enjoyment, and, like that kind of thing, like find the way in. And yeah, so it ended up being like just this hilarious time with myself, where I really got to not only like uncover and bring to the light these parts of myself that I had been judging or had been trying to push away or trying to like transform and all of that kind of stuff. It really helped me transform them in a way of like radical self-acceptance, and radically not only like acknowledging and embracing like these shadowy parts of myself, but really like letting myself find the enjoyment within them. And I feel like I could like go on and on and on, but I'm recognizing this video is almost 10 minutes long already. So this is, I would so happily continue this conversation with you. Like I said, there's so many layers. This is just the tip of the iceberg. If you want to know what book it was that I was reading, I happily give that recommendation. And if you want to see those other videos that I've created, just like, pop a comment below, or you can DM me. So I can send you those links. And yeah, depending on what platform you're watching this on, I think I'm going to post this on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, maybe. So on Facebook and YouTube, I can put those links, but I think on Instagram, you have to message me to get them so that I can send you those links. Alrighty, okay. Thank you for being here with me with all of my imperfection and brilliance. You know, we all get to be both brilliant and imperfect, as Dr. Claire Zammit says, and I just absolutely love that idea that being imperfect does not negate our brilliance, nor does being brilliant negate that we are also imperfect. So I'm going to leave you with that for now, and I'm beaming you so much love, and until next time. Mwah!